we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. It is Markets in the Morning. Let's go. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is the Blockchain Backer, bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Welcome to Markets in the Morning. Today is Wednesday, February 12th, 2025. This is Markets in the Morning, where we take a look at the price action of the cryptocurrency market, including the Bitcoin price chart, along with the altcoin market. Take a look over there at XRP, of course. We'll look at the United States stock market. Is it set to open up here in the next 1 minute, along with precious metals like gold and the US dollar currency index, or the DXY. And of course, we wrap it up with any type of financial news or crypto news that is going on out there in the market. Before we get started, we are going to see the stock market open in 1 minute. If you haven't noticed, lots of volatility coming in this morning. We just got a CPI report, and the CPI was a big miss. If you know this from the things that we've been looking at when it comes to month-over-month CPI, really your best chance of trying to get that CPI as close to 2% as you can comes from the reading that we were going to get today, next month's reading, and the reading after that. That was the best chance. So pretty interesting to see that we weren't able to drop the CPI figures for this month. So we'll take a peek at that stuff. We'll talk about that stuff. Big moves over there in markets. You know, it's always funny, man. You can kind of sniff it out that something weird's going on, where in the final minutes leading up to the CPI release, you could see the market starting to rally up on that. And it's like, oh no, man, when you see the market rally right before a data release happens, and then boom, it's like the bottom dropped out of the Russell in the United States stock market. So stocks are going to open down here to the negative this morning. It looks like we are already open. The Dow Jones is down 348, which is actually better than it was in pre-market. We'll see how it does here in a couple of minutes now that it is actually open. The Nasdaq is down 218 points. The S&P is down 58, and the Russell is down 37 points. Big volatility over there in gold and in silver. Big push down. Now coming back up a little bit. Cryptos, same story over there. Big move over there in crypto because we're tied to the United States stock market as usual. So at least in stocks, you do have a couple that are green. You got Tesla and you got AMC that are green. You have United Health that's a little bit green. Otherwise, it's a sea of red over there in the United States stock market to kick off the day. Bitcoin sits here at $94,545. XRP sits there at $2.34. So big move happening here throughout the market. One thing we've been looking at on XRP, of course, is to be able to see if we could just get ourselves a little push back up into the retracement levels, and then expectations were that we'd still just kind of continue to range on out throughout here. We've seen that happen already in various aspects of the market, so it's been curious to see why XRP in itself hasn't had the juice to be able to do that. You can see that over here on Binance Coin. There's the automatic rally after the liquidation, being able to get up into those highs. I still think these things are probably going to come back down here and settle. We saw it over here on Tron as well. There's the liquidation automatic reaction happening right there off the lows. Then, of course, pushes up. You can see that over there on Litecoin. There's your automatic reaction and then the push up. Still, I think these things are going to pull back and just kind of settle for a minute. But as you can see, we just cannot get the juice to be able to get that push up there. So we'll see how things go throughout today, especially on a volatile day throughout the markets. But we're sitting here at 235, still holding these lows. I saw somebody have a super chat right in the beginning. He said, hey, BCB, a few weeks ago, you said that if you had been in only 5 cryptos, that ADA would be in one of them. Then last week, you said that you didn't have a good read on ADA. Can you please explain? The actual question that somebody had asked me during a live stream is like, they said, hey, you think that it's going to go down to about 225 as the support level there for XRP. Where do you think that level is for ADA? And I had said, I'm not quite sure I have an exact read on where that price level is for ADA. That was the reference when they said not having a good read on it. We were specifically talking about these particular levels in right here where these little supports are going to be coming in at on the price chart. It wasn't about the bigger picture. But as you can see there for things like XRP, just cannot get that bounce. You've got some leaders that have been able to do it, and we're just kind of waiting to see if XRP is going to be able to hold itself through this insane event and if the stock market can settle itself. It's always crazy to come on here on Markets in the Morning after we get a big market-moving data release and try to interpret it as it's happening live. But of course, you know, that's part of the gig. That's what happens with markets in the morning. So if we sit here at 236 for XRP, Bitcoin 94,969. Altcoin market over there. This is of course, the things that you caught the video that was put out on Monday, just kind of painting the big picture. I gave the big example of the altcoin market and how this reaction back at the previous all-time high happened back in 2021. Still nothing unusual in here. When it comes at least to the XRP price chart, the thing that, of course, has been difficult about this entire market is just the vast difference in how the whole thing has been behaving, right? And we've really kind of painted that picture for the last year that this time is different. But even as it goes, it's still surprising on how things can happen. But as we all know, when the 4-year people love the 4-year cycles, the 4-year block reward halving as being our catalyst. But we've always made that correlation to say, hey, that catalyst is that 4-year election cycle, and when the Russell 2000 is breaking out. Of course, we haven't gotten that, and that we've gotten this really weird dynamic market that has come out in here. I, of course, am incredibly grateful that XRP is holding up so well and has been so high during all of this. But it's definitely been so mixed where it's like, it's real hard to wrap your head around it, because you have elements like that, like XRP way up there, and things that have held up very well, your Trons, your Binance coins. And then you almost have you had the C19 event happen in the crypto market last week, and how those are so conflicting events that are happening in there to see that occur. And so it's just a big puzzle trying to put it all together right now. And then, of course, as we get over here on the dominances, right, even if you're looking at things from time perspectives of your 4-year cycles where you would think things would get moving, boom, you get a big fat right? Now, we have seen that the Bitcoin dominance has at least hit the 702 retracement. That is what it did back in 2021. It actually ends up getting there. That's how things end up, returning themselves over at that point. But here we go. As we kick off the day, it looks like things are settling. Now the Dow looks more like it did in pre-market. So it's down 424 points. The Nasdaq's down 179, which I think is a little bit better than it was a minute ago. I'm not sure. The Russell is a little bit better than it was a few minutes ago. You got United Health. I think we just saw Roblox in the green there for a second. You got AMC up. As for gold has been crazy. Gold has been pulling back these last few days. Then with this event, it sold off and then it went right back up. Same thing happened over there for silver on the CPI. So let's talk about CPI so we can understand what is happening here in regards to the volatility that's happening here in the market right now. This is the CPI data that just came out. Core, year over year, 3.3 versus 3.1 expectations. Core month over month, 0.4 versus 0.3. CPI 0.5 versus 0.3 for month over month, and year over year 3.0 versus 2.9. Now, when you look at that and you think, okay, well, whatever, it's just a miss. So we like to look ahead. So when we see these figures and where they get to, they're not all that surprising in regards to the narrative. We always see the narratives and the headlines over there on CNBC, and we're able to kind of be like, it's baloney. But what we're dropping out of here is that with the numbers that we just had, we knocked this one out. So you kind of look through here and you say, well, how do you have your best chance at reducing the year over year figure to try to get that thing as close to 2% of the Fed's target as possible? And what happens is when we get a new reading, we drop out an old reading. So right now, the one that got dropped out of here was this one, which was a 0.3% from back in 2024. So you could see these last three readings, we knew it was going to be very difficult to drop the year over year numbers until we finally got to these bigger readings in the hopes that we could register some numbers like this that just make it drop for 4 consecutive months and see the CPI end up dropping. So here we are, we're about to drop off a larger figure, but what do we produce? An even bigger one. And so that's the concern in there. Now, the question is as well, how much, contribution in January did this have, right? This is oil, right? So oil went, gas prices, oil shot up throughout the month of January. And then here now, at least throughout the month of February, they've been going back down again, right? So the second half of January is where they really fell off. And here into February, they've been down here at the lows again, back to where they've kind of been. So we'll see if that ends up being a contribution. But when it comes to, what happened is, that was a big miss on CPI on a couple of months where you were kind of hoping to see that you could get those figures closer to 2% CPI. Now, of course, everybody wants the CPI to come down because they want to see the Fed end up cutting. We've gone through a lot of that stuff with cutting cycles and talked about it, that cutting cycles are typically things that are happening during economic distress in a big way. So it's not something you're like really cheering for. Then yesterday, the Fed came out and said, we're not going to be doing QE until, there's like economic distress. And it's like, okay, that's not surprising either. People are throwing fits like they want that stuff, but that stuff doesn't typically come unless S is hitting the fan. So they're communicating that S is not hitting the fan right now. And I think we're probably still seeing that. So we at least know we're not in a cutting cycle. And cutting cycles have historically been bad. Like it's typically not until we get to zero. So there is still some hope there. And that's counterintuitive to what you are told. But we've gone through the charts many, many times to show that when you are in a cutting cycle, it's historically bad. But we'll see how things end up going in here. It's Wednesday. My bad. We had to jump right into the data, guys. It was super busy. Happy Wednesday.
It is Wednesday, my
All right, there you go. Okay, moving back over to data, losing our train of thought over here. I can't believe I just did it again. You gotta be kidding me. Dude, you gotta be kidding me. Learn your lesson. I did that like 4 times during the last stream. Okay, there we go. All right, Bitcoin doing a little bit better now at 95,400. A couple more coins flipping back there over in the green. It looks like the RTY is slightly improved from what we have here over at the opening. XRP still holding. One thing I was watching for too, so I've been like kind of paying attention to price action on how it would like trick in here. And what we consistently see are like in each of these things that are able to continue grinding is they're doing these series of higher lows happening in here. But I was like, I bet there's going to be this one thing that comes out of here where it's going to go snatch that trend line in there and grab that liquidity out of there first without setting a lower low. And so far that is what we had. So we'll see how the rest of the day ends up coming. But even if it does bounce up out of here, I still think we're just going to have to stall out there for just a minute until we can get broader markets to end up moving. We could talk about the alternative if there becomes like a secondary liquidation, right? And, this is always that fine line where everybody, crypto content is so ridiculously notorious for it of up, down, left, right, A, B, start, C, I was right. I don't think it's going to liquidate in here. I mean, I've definitely seen things like this, or I'll give you like an example. The reason I don't think it's going to is just the context of where we're at. Like, and if it did liquidate, it would be more like something like this. I don't think it's going to. Let me see. The reason I don't think it's going to is because we're already seeing the other things in the market that we're looking for, right? I just think we're lagged, right? This is exactly the thing we've been looking for, and we've gotten it on like multiple assets throughout the market. So that's what I'm thinking. But I do think these are going to pull back in here again. I think all of them will, and I think even if we get it, we will too. The things I've seen over there on Twitter, people have been like, C19, don't think so. I don't think so. I think we would have already had it if we were going to end up having it happen in there. Trying to think of an example where I saw something very similar to this, where you just have that. Kind of like the bottom of C19. Let's go look at the bottom of C19. Which I think this is what we see throughout the market. I don't know. I'll put it together in a video. But I think if this thing does spill, I still don't think it's going to set a new low. I genuinely think that this has been the idea. I am pretty surprised that it has not been able to follow along with what we've been talking about in here, whereas these assets have done it. So I'm kind of scratching head on that currently at the moment, but still maintaining the higher low still, just as these all have. So we'll see how it goes here in the coming days. Otherwise, what else should we talk about, man? It's just been a crazy morning. I think we're all just trying to kind of see how's the stock market going to react now after the craziness in the pre-market. So you can see Dow still down 487 points. NASDAQ down 135. Russell down 35. Silver and gold. Silver is up, but gold is still down this morning. DXY, we'll look at DXY. I had something about DXY. So like what's real fascinating, just conceptually, right? Like if this is nothing more than a retrace happening over here on the United States dollar currency index, that we get this massive like C19 style event to happen right in here. And if you don't recall, this is also where we end up having the massive FTX bottom come in for the market too, at when it started to reverse. And then that's where we had to kind of have our big massive moment happening throughout the market. So many people want to hear narratives. They want to hear stories on how, what it is that causes these things to happen in the market. I think one of my favorite things about what happened is that there was no narrative that just happened right now in the market. And that's what people want to grasp onto. It's just that there was too much leverage built up in the system. And what typically happens, and I talked about this last week, that the fear, the change in retail sentiment is going to come. The negativity is going to become proliferant. And we're going to see people constantly. I see the chats coming through. What are you going to do if it's a bear market? What are you going to do if it's a bear market? Right? Like that's what constantly ends up happening. Right? Like what are you gonna do at this point, brother? I mean, you've already had a bunch of stuff hit the lows. What are you waiting for, right? If you think it's a bear market on things like XRP, if you think it's a bear market, just sell it, bro. Do what you got to do, right? You can walk away. You can walk away with a lot of money right now, I'm sure. I just don't think it is. And I'm gonna put it together here in a couple of days, formulating an idea. And it goes back to something we talked about in December of 2022 in a video titled "The Bear Market Strikes for the Bitcoin Price Chart." So I had put out a video back in, I believe, December 3rd, 4th, or 5th. No, I can tell you what day it would have been. It would have been the day after that, right? So maybe December 5th. The bear market strikes for the Bitcoin price chart. And in there, we go through various different bear markets that Bitcoin could go through. Of course, at that time, nobody thought it was a bear market. And then it became really apparent over the next couple of months that it definitely was. But in there, we presented several varying ideas, right? One of them being that, we shoot back down, take out these lows, and then shoot back up. One of the reasons why I started to kind of lose faith in that later in it was just how long we took. I really thought that if we were going to end up doing it, that we probably would have reversed right back from there. And it just would have happened pretty quickly because when I've seen those things, that's typically how they end up going. But if that still is true, if that's what's happening in here, then it would still even mean that's not the top of Bitcoin. It would mean we're getting close. But that we're not quite there. And I just don't have extreme confidence on this range to say if it's going to quickly go down below the range. And then this is how you then eventually build your market top. It's the most logic at this point, unless there ends up becoming something very similar to what we've talked about in the last couple of weeks, where this range continues to march up, and then our market ends at that moment right there, right? Like, unless that still is in the cards, which of course it still is possible, but I'll put out a video here in the coming days on it. The thing is, it's just highly unlikely this market is over. I think it's just extremely, extremely complicated. And I think we just saw, I think it's just trying to put the words together to say that, right? Like the 4-year cycle stuff is getting proven to have flaws in it, right? Because of how this market is right now. And I think we're having to navigate it in that complicated way that it's not the same market that anybody is used to. And you've got your Bitcoin maxis screaming, see. Just so we're clear, XRP has outperformed Bitcoin for the last 4 years. But it's very complicated, right? One of the things I've seen over there on Twitter a lot, or just floating around, of course, is this whole thing. And so this is others over Bitcoin to kind of give you an idea when things have actually ended up taking off in 4-year cycles. And really, it's been this February time period where the market actually ends up ripping and roaring. Last time it actually did start in January, but by the time we were in February, the thing was ripping and roaring. So for 4-year cycle theorists, still you're kind of in that February zone of where you need to see things kind of behaving the same way that you would for the cryptocurrency market. I think the big challenge that we're facing is just the thing that we've been talking about for quite some time on how this guy hasn't broadened out yet. And I think that's why we haven't seen the broadening out in the crypto market yet. It's become very isolated on who's winning, who's losing. And it's a challenging market for sure. Just thank God for XRP, man. Things like with ETH, right? So like even this, right? So like, and this is the conflict, right? So when I sit around and I ponder, right, I spend a lot of time looking at charts. It's very little time that I spend actually doing YouTube videos or doing live streams than I actually spend looking at charts. About 80% of my time is kind of just sitting here staring at these things, jumping around. That's why you guys are kind of like, man, how do you find that stuff? That's crazy. It's like from the future. It's like, well, no, it's just I spend a ridiculous amount of time doing this. And then I come on here and talk about it for a 15-minute video. But this is exactly like C19 just happened. And it's so crazy to see that something exactly like C19 just occurred, which would mean, this thing's going to recover out of here, right? This thing will get its way out of here. And market sentiment's going to be absolute trash. And you're going to people being, are we in a bear market? It's going to be a bear. You're going to have that. After C19, if you weren't here at that time, which most people weren't, I saw so much BS on Twitter in 2021, 2022, 2023. Yeah, it was the most obvious trade in the world. No, sentiment was trash. And so I'm expecting sentiment to be trash right here for a minute. But it's so fascinating for it to happen here when you already when you have Bitcoin at an all-time high. That is truly unlike any of your past cycles that you've had before. But this is really identical to what a C19 event happened like. You can look at things like Chainlink in those moments and Bitcoin in those moments, and it screams that we just had a C19 event. And then it's trying to put that puzzle together in your head of being like, well, how can you have a C19 moment happen where things like Polkadot hit their lows perfectly, things like Ethereum hit their lows perfectly? How can you have that while Bitcoin's in an all-time high, right? And then how do you have some stuff that's real strong, like Tron and Binance Coin and XRP all being up there? And it's such a complicated picture, for sure. A lot of food for thought. I don't know, kind of thinking out loud, right? Anyway, there you go. Oh, there we go. Standard YouTube crashed on me. Hopefully you guys can still hear me while I'm talking. I'm reloading it. And there you go. I'm back. Okay. So you have Gem real estate investing saying alt season unlikely. Alts are up XRP due to 5x. No one's ever satisfied. I don't buy that. I don't buy it. When the general crowd thinks there's not going to be something, then that's when it's going to end up happening. I don't buy it. I do think it's going to be identical to what we have seen last time, where it's only like 20% of them that end up doing it. See, like the thing that you would think, right? If you would think it's over, right? Then you'd say to yourself, well, who are your big name leaders, right? Who are the big names that you have that are leaders? Your Solana, Binance Coin, right? XRP and Tron, right? We can just name those four, right? Those are like the big caps out there that have hit their all-time highs, right? So your argument would have to be that not even one of them goes for an expansion, right? Not even one of them. Like, even if you were going to look at 2021, you say, well, only 20% of them could break to all-time highs, right? Then you would see at least a couple, right? That's what I would think. I would think, well, you would see like two, right? Fine. We'll get those few to hit their all-time highs, but only maybe one or two of them go for a full extension or something like that, right? That's the missing element, and where you could say, yeah, there's not going to be something. Well, you would have to see something hit an extension. You'd have to see something get there. But the crowd crying that there's not going to be something while you still sit up in here is just a typical behavior of the crowd, right? And what happens is you have Bitcoin maxis telling you that too. Oh, the ETFs make it possible so that no liquidity can end up flowing throughout. Baloney. Lies. You just watch XRP. It's above its 2021 high right now. How is that possible, right? Like, baloney. But, then you get to these areas, right? And so, like, this is where crowd, we talk about it all the time, how the crowd, when you get back into retraces, this is where the crowd completely capitulates. And statements like those things happen. There's not going to be any type of movement throughout the rest of the market. Reflect back on March of last year, right? When we got back to the retracements, the crowd all agreed together, there's no way this is the top now that we're back into the retracements, right? For the altcoin market, right? So you see a crowded trade happening here with the crowd all saying the same thing in here, and the crowd worried about the same thing happening here. And you see a C19 style event happening in there. It's more of like you have all the formulas lined up for something to happen against what the crowd thinks. And I saw reposts happening over there on Twitter, people being like, I just want my alts to go up so I could put it into Bitcoin. It's like, that's exactly what you would say here, when you would be capitulating at this point. So don't believe it. I just think it's really a different picture. And, there's times where like lightning strikes and like when you go through the blurriness of a lot of it, where it's sometimes hard to see it in the thick of the moment until you actually get there. And then once you like reach the final destination, that's where everything makes sense. And it's kind of like being in this range. If this ends up being the range, and then you end up seeing the altcoins all spike, and then everything was crystal clear right here, then it's like, well, now the picture is super clear. Now it's like, boom, sell it all and run. But in the middle part of it, it can be quite difficult to end up seeing it. I just don't think that with what your statement is and how many people I've seen say that on Twitter, that the retail crowd believes that. That just means the retail crowd is all capitulated together. That's all that it ends up meaning. And you're at these levels where it would make sense for the retail crowd to all have that same view together right now. So I doubt it, brother. I doubt it. So, all right, let's go ahead and jump into the chat. Let's take one more quick look throughout the market here really quick. It looks like you do have a little bit of a bounce happening there on XRP. Let's get all this stuff off from these previous conversations here. Okay, there you go. 239. XRP's had weird closes every day too. Talk about making people bite their teeth, their toes, bite their fingernails while it just sits there hanging out in that area. But all right, there you go. Oh no, what did I have over here? I don't even remember. Well, I guess we're gonna lose it then. right? All it takes for sentiment too. I'm telling you, all it takes is for price to go right back there, and that entire statement of people saying there's no alt season, they become euphoric here. Then price falls down here. No, there's no alt season. That's all it's gonna take, man. That's all it'll take. It's like clockwork. All right, let me get all this up because people tune into the live stream and they're like, "Wait, what are we talking about?" And they don't know what the conversation was when they see the squigglies on the charts. So, all right, there you go. Let's see what's going on in the stock market before we hop into the chat and stuff. You got gas pulling down, you got oil pulling back down. I think we'll get a different CPI reading next time around. Looking over the DXY now at 108. Gold 28.95. Russell only down 28 points. It was down over 40 earlier. The Dow's now down 354. It was down like 480 just a moment ago. The Nasdaq's down 103 and the S&P's down 37. So it's actually an improvement from what we saw happening at the opening. Of course, this is all coming off the heels of a hot CPI report that just came out, missing expectations. We now have multiple stocks that are in the green now, which is a stark difference from what we saw when the stock market had opened. We do see things starting to kind of recover over here a little bit. We see a little bit more green happening over here in the cryptocurrency market, and Bitcoin now back to 95,600. So we'll see if that was just a wild reaction to the market or to the data coming out. As for XRP, these are the thoughts that I have still. I'm not going to reiterate. Go watch all my 5 last videos. It tells you that my thoughts on everything. The thing is, we're obviously lagging behind here. This has been the idea of what we would see. It's what we've discussed over and over again in thoughts like this. Why it's lagging behind, I'm not quite sure, but this is still the idea. Maybe it'll just play catch up here in a minute, but I'm not going to be sitting here thinking that we're actually breaking out just yet. I think there's going to be some more ranging that takes place in here before we can end up having that type of move happen in there. I do think we will see a recovery happening over here in Ethereum as well. I think the big question is going to be just the amount of time. How much time is left in this market? Is it all going to happen quickly like people forecast when it comes to, what was it? Others over BT. That's wrong. Things like this, right? So that's the thing too. Like, we have to, think about where we are. We are at the 4-year cycle, right? The reality is the 4-year cycle concludes. And this is where everybody's going to argue. It's going to be the argue. But we know where the peak of everything happened, and it was in April and May of 2021. And so you can kind of get an idea of, in the 4-year cycles, where were you in February? So this is 2017, right? Things start taking off there at the end of February. That's where the move really starts to get going. Over here, we actually had started in January, and then by the time we got to February, things were going. But this market had concluded itself there by May. And so just kind of keeping that in mind. Are we in a place where things could turn their way up? For 4-year cycle theory, yes, we are. So many people ask me that. You still think there's this much time? Well, you look at all these charts and you say, well, how much time do you think's left in these things if we're going to continue at these rates? That's what the whole last video was about. And then kind of keep it in mind, where are we at? So, okay. Hopping into it. Mike, thank you. Matt B, BCB, when members live stream. We'll do one next week. I was thinking about that today. We'll do one next week. Red Baron, hey BCB, is the answer for this an ultra bull run or just a rotation depending on what Bitcoin will do? If Bitcoin goes for 150K ultra bull run, but if alts go up while Bitcoin at same range, rotation. I'm going to bet there's not some big rotation. So like in the coming days, I'm going to put, this would be rotation, right? This would be rotation. But if it's not doing that, and it goes back to the video that I talked about earlier in this stream, when the bear strikes the Bitcoin price chart back in December of 2021, that it pull back and head back up in here, then if you were in that, right? So either you got this thing going on in here, right? Or if you're not, then the things that tend to happen in here is you actually end up having 5 waves like this. And then the whole thing just lets go. And there is no like retracement rally thing that happens in there in that type of an event. It just becomes the escalator up and then becomes an entire elevator down situation in there. So I don't know. I think the rotation game is going to be dangerous. That may just be some PTSD from last time. Because it's hard. It's hard to rotate them all and figure them out. So like I rotated into 5 of them last time. And one of them did go epic. But, you know, the other 4 did not. Right? And so I think it's hard to know which one is going to be able to do that. And that's why we focus so much on things like developer activity, user activity levels, and those things like that, where the users are and where the hype is at, and sector-specific things, because it's probably your best shot, but it still doesn't guarantee, right, when you play that game. It's not, the market totally changed from 2017. 2017 was like the glory days, man. It was crazy. It was unreal. And then 2021, totally different. And then 2024 and 2025, it's been even more different, right? OM. Hello, BCB. Thanks for everything you do. I found you in 2021 and watched every video. So many bearish signals, tariffs, inflation up, DXY strong. How confident are you in an alt season before everything falls? We've had bearish signals the whole way up, bro. That's the thing, right? We've talked about it the whole way up. And so like when we see this data, we're the last ones in line to end up seeing it, right? Was it not bearish at this point? Well, we've already hit the retracement levels, right? You know, is gold now overextended? Right? Was the rally in gold the initial break in gold the bearish thing? Right? This, well, we do not have it on here. This has been, you know, your challenge. This has been your thing the whole time, right? But the thing is, you when you get a liquidation like what we just saw happen in the crypto market, like what just happened, everybody looks for everything bearish. And ask yourself this, okay, this liquidation, who knows how many magnitudes bigger it was than C19, okay? After C19, how bearish was everything? Ridiculously. There was nothing positive. You couldn't name a positive thing going on. It was horrid. Right? And so when you're looking at narratives, you're looking at things like that, you know, just is gold now overextended? Has the DXY already done a full retracement at this point? Those are your arguments too. I don't think you're ever going to end up getting, and I just know this because I've been doing this for so long, you aren't going to get like the perfect formula at any point of any time. And we haven't had that during the whole ride up. Like you just haven't had that in the whole ride up at all. To get to where we are right now for things like Bitcoin, for things like XRP, there's been your mixed signals the whole way around. And even when we go into the bull run in 2021, after C19 ends up happening, you don't have your beautiful signs coming out of there. And really, like your most bullish thing that has happened is really just that you've already liquidated everything. That's like your bullish thing. Hate it or love it, it is. So yeah, you're right. There's definitely, you could always at any point in time make a list of this is what's good, this is what's bad. But then you have to say, do you think it's run its course? And in the end, has this market behaved like what a market top would behave like? You give me an example of a market top that has happened like this. I don't have one, right? So it just tells me it's some type of noise. It's some type of noise happening along the way. Otherwise, I've got no examples for a market top where we hit the top and then you got some stuff that's hitting the bottom. You know what I mean? Where's a market top like that? I don't have one. Alaric Wilson. Hey, BCB, thanks for all your work. Any part of you concerned that XRP may have topped? Sentiment feels in the gutter across the board. Of course, there's always the concerns on everything. Nothing's ever a sure bet, but I don't think so. Unless you think the all-time high is all you're going to end up getting. Like I've talked about this 100 times, right? Crash, retrace, reaccumulation. This is normal stuff, right? Just completely normal stuff. I've seen people say, oh, we can go back down here and it's still a bull market. Bull crap. Bull crap. No, you cannot, sir. No, you cannot. No. So, you know, if it goes down, then I think there's just something fundamentally completely wrong, right? Like Like, where do I draw the line where it's like you just can't go lower than that without something really worrying big, and you can actually go lower than where you are now, and before that ends up happening, even though it won't feel good. But it just goes back to the things like we've talked about over here, right? Like when you look back to past ones, how do they tend to react, right? You can slam back down into that level, right back on there first, right? It's always possible. I don't think it's going to. I think we've already slammed our lows. I've been building videos on it, giving examples of it, and talking all about these different things on why I think that was it. But like you could just look at the comments here. I'm only like 4 comments in right now, and look at all this worry. Look at all this concern. Right? You got it already. It's gonna be like that this whole stream. I already know it. But I don't think we're gonna end up slamming it. But from a technical perspective, can you still do it and things be okay? Yes. Where's that level? It's $1.50. Would there be a lot of pain in the market? There'd be a tremendous amount of pain. Do I think it's going to end up happening in there? I don't think it's going to happen because I think we're doing something very normal happening in here, and we've already liquidated the heck out of the market. We've already created that negative worrying sentiment. And that particular comment got lots of likes, right? So you can already tell. Gator gifted 5 BCB memberships. Brother, thank you. My guy, any chance for all-time high for high dev coins? Wait, even in 2021, not all of them end up going. I don't remember what the figure was. What was it? 65% of them? Maybe it was less. Maybe it was 50%. High dev ended up hitting all-time highs versus a market average of 20%. Here's what's really fascinating. We went through and looked through all the different subgroups. We created several different subgroups in the newsletter of what had the statistical probability of hitting a new all-time high. Was it development activity? Was it user activity levels? Was it inflation figures? Or was it just percentage drawdown during the bear market? And the subset of coins that had the highest percentage of being able to go back into all-time highs was the shallowest bear drawdown group in 2021. They had the highest probability of over 65% of them were able to go back and go into all-time highs. Right now, who has gone back to highs? Bitcoin, Tron, Binance, and XRP. What do they all have in common? They were all top 10 shallowest bears. And they're like the only ones, man. So I remember that data point. It was kind of like, oh, is that a silly data point to be focusing on? There you go. Has that one, and because I had to buy coins into my personal portfolio based off that data, and that data was tough to swallow. Feeling like really we're just going to go based on shallowest bear, but that has ended up being ones that have taken back to all-time highs. BP, hey BCB, if XRP enters an unexpected bear market, here we go. Before reaching its bull targets, do you have an exit strategy in place? For example, would you consider selling on the retrace? Yeah, but I'd have to look at it and see if it's doing something unfamiliar. Like frankly, if it like dipped below $1.50, that would be a little bit nervous. Here we go. We got Gamma Valdez. We're gonna have to time you out, brother. Remember, just hide you entirely because you're spamming. And what about XLM? XLM is trash. How about that? How about that? You like that? There's your answer. XLM is trash. That's your answer. He was flooding the chat. Sorry about that. Yeah, I mean, if it does something really crazy and it does some huge markdown, then I'll have to assess it at that time on how to take care of it into a retrace. But you could sniff it out there, everybody. What you're seeing right now with these comments today, it's only going to proliferate for the next couple of weeks. So be prepared for that, guys. Orthodoxos, BCB, can you please help me out and see where's the Fibonacci level for XLM? Sorry, I'm not going to do XLM, guys. Calvin Moon, thank you for the super chat. Before we have that dude in the chat just ruined it for him. For anybody wanting XLM, that dude in the chat just ruined it for you. Calvin Moon, before we have talked about runs only lasting 30, 45 days, how far into it? We aren't even in it yet. We just aren't even in it. This tells you the story. You aren't even in it. Tony Wynn says, what happens if it sets new lows? I'm not sure which one you're talking about. Karan Patel, hey BCB, what's your thought on ADA? Can it still go to $9? Yeah, I still think ADA has the higher probabilities. Kim 589, 50 months. Let's go. Thank you for always having our backs. Thank you, Kim. Martin, ADA 4.236 extension and recent backtest goes to about $4. Thoughts? Not matching full extensions market cap. Thanks for advice. Yeah, I haven't done those measurements, but if that, it's all about finding things with confluence. If that range ends up hitting that extension while you have things like XRP hitting targets, or if you have something else hitting a full extension, a lot of times these things will just magically all happen at exactly the same time. And if that ends up being it, then that ends up being it. I know that ADA came up short of a 4.236 extension in 2021. Off the top of my head, I don't know what that 4.236 extension figure is from 2018's bear. Maybe check and see if there's confluence for that number at the same time. Enrich Bits and Tools, I joined your Substack. Great lesson. Can you make a video for a strategy for lagging coins from past cycles with low development? What retracement level should we consider? I would seriously just look for confluences happening throughout the market on everything. If you see something like we just talked about earlier, you got Solana, Binance Coin, Bitcoin, XRP, Tron, all hitting these all-time highs, but nobody's gone on to like hit extensions, right? But if you see maybe one or two of them go hit full extensions, and then we see like the altcoin market cap hit some extension in a particular range, and then there's a couple of these other altcoins that are hitting like their 618 or 702s at the exact same time. Because believe it or not, when we were back in 2021, that's exactly what happened on the day of like when Elon Musk went on Saturday Night Live, that all these different things were hitting these exact particular levels at all different spots on the exact same day. That's probably it. That's probably the cut day. So it's not going to be focusing on just some of the old stuff and where they are. I don't know where they're going to get taken to because I don't know what liquidity there are. There's people just aren't focusing on them anymore. But watching for what the rest of the market is doing at the same time. Let's see. Andreas. Hey BCB, what about the 50% wick fill? Do you think that's in play for XRP before making higher? Because the target then should be around $2.17. We're nitpicking pennies here, man. Just kind of give an example. You can find lots of examples in here. Look, we can come back down lower in here, right? Or we just kind of stall here and just hang out here just below the 382. Right now, that's where we are, right? Argument enough to say that's good enough. Why? We've already seen other coins end up doing it already, right? They've just held those lows. They've gone on and hit these, and this has been the idea. We're already there. You can try to guess that it's going to go 10 cents lower. I'm not going to put my confidence on it. And that again pertains to the question that was asked last week with ADA. Somebody said, all right, well, you think about 225 for XRP. What's the figure there on ADA? I'm not quite sure. I don't have a perfect read on that for ADA. Then you get somebody this morning asking, hey, you said you don't have a perfect read on ADA. Are you still bullish on it? Oh my gosh. Calm down, people. But yeah, I think it's just as good of a level as any of where we're at, and especially since we have already seen the reactions happening here throughout the market, right? If somebody has some secret knowledge to say, hey, that's going to be it, it's going to get right down in here, and that's going to be the number, fair enough. I just don't think it has to. Hey, BCB, have you looked into buying gold or silver mining ETF stocks? No, I've never looked into it because I don't want anything to do with it. Some of them seem to have started to pump. Also, thanks for the great content. Yeah, I don't want anything to do with it because these mining stocks. So I've mentioned, I watch a lot of like gold and silver and bullion and coin videos on YouTube. And the most notorious thing, like, all right, so you know what people, like content creators in crypto, right? They take a lot of crap because they get approached by all these projects that want them to promote them. And then they promote them and then they don't disclose that they're being paid by them to do it, right? Or like, even if they do disclose it, right? But they're promoting a token, they're promoting a project or something like that. I don't do any of that on here, man. I got no sponsors. I don't take any of that crap. I tell all of them to bug off. I got approached by one the other day, like a big name company. a big name company. And then they said, hey, can we have your fact sheet? And I go, I don't have one. What's your offer? And they said, well, we don't really do that. You have to give us your price. And I was like, well, I don't accept sponsors. So you're going to have to give me a number that's too big, so big I can't refuse it. And they're like, we can't do that. You need to, I just told them to bug off. I was like, what would be my number? Like, all right, 5 million. Right. But I don't know. I got sidetracked there. Anyway, it's a very prolific thing that happens in crypto. When you hear people here, like, dude, do I go on into this tangent? Do I do it? There's so many tricks and traps in crypto on how they promote tokens and how they undisclosed do things. Like some of them are so sneaky with large accounts where they're like, look, here's the top 10 coins you need to focus on. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. And then they give definitions on why. And it's like, okay, yeah. And so they're building credibility by saying this, right? Then they'll be like XRP because it's going to take over banks. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, this guy knows what he's talking about, right? Then they slip in some no-name BS coin that you've never heard of. You're like, well, wait a minute. This guy's proven he's a little bit credible. He's talked about some good stuff in here. But what's this token I've never heard of? I've never heard of that one. I better look into this one. And that's the pump and dump scam hidden in the middle of all of it that you didn't know about. You thought they were being honest or thought they were being good, but they hid in the pump and dump scam in the middle of it. Anyway, let me get back at what I was supposed to be talking about when it came to gold and silver mining stocks, is that when I watch these YouTube videos of these gold and silver and bullion and coin videos, these guys are always accepting payments from these mining companies to promote these mining tickers. And it's so offensive to me that these are pump and dump mining companies. And there's so many of them, and they're predatory, and they go after these coin collecting videos, and they offer these guys such good amounts to promote the ticker. And I see it all the time. And it has turned me off from ever wanting to touch a mining stock because I think it's baloney. I'd much rather, it's like a Bitcoin mining company. I'd never buy a Bitcoin mining company. I'd rather own Bitcoin. So for me, it's just, I suspect most of them are pump and dump scams, the gold and silver mining companies. And that's why I won't touch them. So that's my honest opinion on that. John, member for 11 months, said smash the like button. Thank you, man. Jazz D, you mentioned Polkadot earlier. Does it have a chance to reach a 4.236 extension? I would say no. I would say Polkadot's a retrace candidate, right? I mean, you look for things that have already exhibited some type of strength, even in this market. Even Ethereum has taken it on the chin of everything that it has, but even Ethereum's been much stronger than Polkadot. Polkadot's or AVAXs, right? Just you would think there would be some level of strength. And I get it, like Polkadot's having a good day today. It's holding up pretty well during all of this, but Polkadot has slammed back down into the lows. It would essentially have to pull off like an Ethereum Classic from 2021 move, I would think, in order to do it. Just with how deep into it we are, right? And we're just essentially having to speculate on it that this market's going to be like 2021, where only 20% of things are going to go. And trying to figure out what are the common themes that they have and who's exhibiting the highest likelihood of doing it so far. This deep into the game, you would probably want to see some strength happening in there on things to say they are looking probable, right? Or things that went through the liquidation, right? One thing that I've definitely been like, okay, no doubt that's nothing but a retrace, is anything layer 2 Ethereum related. Like anything like that. Big miss on that one, right? That's been the portfolio herder for me, has been anything Ethereum 2 layer 2 related. Or anything that has taken out new lows at this point. Like if you've taken out 2022, 2023 lows, probably not a good sign. The thing, Polkadot didn't take out new lows. It acted very much like what happened back in C19. But I think in order for there to be like a 4.236 extension on something like Polkadot, then it has to mean that I've like got a complete misread on what this market is doing right now. And it's like we still have like a year left in the market. Because I don't know how you get from being like at C19 levels to then going all the way to a 4.236 extension in just a few months. You know what I mean? We would have to be like right at the beginning of the bull run, which I mean, you know, right. Again, to add to it, right? Like how we're all you know, you're navigating a different environment, right? Like you were already in the altcoin bull run here, right? You are in the altcoin bull run here. In what circumstances are you doing C19 style stuff from here, right? Very different market. And I think it's a combination of gold. It's a combination of the Russell 2000 and that complication of breadth in the market. But I don't think we're there yet. I don't think we're there. We're back to 240 for XRP. Good morning, BCB. AOC introduces bill to ban Congress from stocks. I believe you said this was a sign to run for the hills. Thoughts? It's, man, we've seen, hey, like we're getting a nice little recovery here in the market already. I think over the last 2 years, how many times have we seen them do that though? Like I think they've done that 100 times, right? It's all just for show and for play, but they won't actually end up doing it. But I mean, I bet it like is coming to it. I mean, if you kind of look at the momentum that's happening there with Elon Musk, right? He's like this Doge stuff that they're now going to start prying into. How are all these congressional people getting these massive net worths off $200,000 salaries, right? How are you worth $100 million on a $200,000 salary, right? And that what we know exactly how they got there, right? Come on, they're all doing insider trading, right? Like, I mean, that's how they got there. So it seems like we're going to head to that direction. But if you recall, it was when it was like it happened, right? It was like when they actually ended up banning, like when the Fed banned themselves and it was like official. That's when the problem ended up happening for the markets, and that's when markets ended up topping. So I think we've seen these proposals happen many times, but it's not until like something actually ends up coming from it. But yeah, I mean, I've talked about that many times, but I don't think it's anything until it actually happens. Otherwise, it's just dangling the stick or whatever you call it, dangling the carrot. JJ Jacob, the sentiment in German YouTube space is completely destroyed, even worse than FTX because Bitcoin is at 100K and alts like Matic or Atom are down 50% from FTX. Yeah, it's a fascinating time, right? Unlike any of the past cycles. Dude, I'm really behind. Okay, no, I'm not that bad. Elijah says, is there any double tap bull flag breakout violent backtest on the weekly Bitcoin chart without the backtest? Yeah, that's what this would be, right? If you ended up having that, right? However, I would think if you're doing that, and this is a very prolonged bull run, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a slight dip that was very fast below it. But yeah, I mean, an event like that would just be, I don't know how crypto wouldn't get hit by that. All right, like the altcoin market. EN says, Matic to Pol changed supply. New tokenomics, not just a name change. On coin market cap. Is it possible that it stopped following Matic price chart? I haven't looked at it in a while. Yeah, Matic, right? Slamming these lows again at $30.92. It's the same price. There's no difference. Super Chad, you're like the Keanu Reeves of YouTube. Such a humble guy. Have you not sold a single XRP? Or already a very small percentage. Love you, brother. No, I still have all my XRP. I took a little trade from here to here, but I've already gotten it back. So no, I'm fully exposed. And the amount of XRP I have is every year has climbed more and more and more every year. And when I say I took a little trade, it was with like, I don't want to say, but less than 10%. Less than 10%. But I'm already back. It's already back in. Mazer Fraser, BCB, if 0 was milk and 10 was a Scotch bonnet, how spicy are you today? Love your work, man. Win-win. Yeah, so I'll fill you in what's going on. I'm definitely spicy. You know, I talk about it all the time that I'm really into exercise and everything like that. But there's one component that I don't talk about, and that's my diet. And then I tend to yo-yo on my diet because that's how I like to live my life. It's that there is no real happy medium on like finding life balance. It's either all in or all out, like a real addict. But I essentially go like 2 months eating whatever I want, and then I go 2 months eating very clean, like really clean. Everything is real food. There's no more pizza. There's no more fettuccine alfredo, homemade. There's no more delicious bread. Life just kind of sucks for a minute. And so that started 2 days ago. Back into the... So, you know, I always go to the gym. It's always a thing, 5 to 6 times a week. The thing that always changes is that I like go real strict on myself for 2 months where I eat very clean. And then I let loose for 2 months. And then we get back to the 2 months and boom, it's back to clean. And right now I just started the new clean. So trying to make it through the day. Jesse Jones, did you grab the dip or are you just holding? I'm just holding. Like I said, I did like a less than 10% trade right in here, but it's already back in. Jeff Patterson, thanks BCB for all that you do. Solana market cap, double tap, V bottom. I don't know. I have not looked at Solana. See things like this too. Like, I mean, like, not a huge fan of Solana, just in general, like, because I don't understand what it's for outside of meme coin trading. So, like, I understand that. Like, gambling is a big, big thing. But I have a hard time beyond that. And so it's not to talk bad about Solana, but I look at this chart and I say, how are we like bear market? How are we screaming bear market here when you're on top of here, right? Like the crowd sentiment, right? You know, it's because it's such a mixed market. That's why it's so segregated. The market is so segregated. But we got a nice recovery going on here. Bitcoin's back to positive. XRP is almost at 241. So XRP is almost positive. All right. I don't know if I call it that clean, right? Unless if that's your double tap, right? XTaj says, what do you think? And so I don't really watch this one a lot because I just don't own much Solana. XTaj, what do you think HBAR and XRP will hit in 2025? I'm much more optimistic. Well, maybe with HBAR having pulled down now, maybe percentage wise it looks better, but I don't think. I'm sorry, Taj, for $2. I'm not going to pull up charts and do altcoin reviews, but I think XRP has a better percent chance than HBAR because I don't think HBAR's market cap is all that far away from a full 4.236 extension. Blaine says, when 10K XRP for $1.99, I want to look at the exact day that it's going to happen. Thank you very much, Blaine. Yeah. The thing is, man, I'm legit, me saying that there's absolutely zero chance that XRP is going to hit $10,000. Me saying that there's absolutely zero chance XRP is going to hit $1,000. That generally upsets people. Generally. And not generally, genuinely. Because there's people who genuinely believe that it will. And the content they consume and all that stuff. And the amazing thing is it's very smart people too who think that too. You would think it's just like some crazy dude who has like 4 XRP. Like, here's the real. Here's the real. If you think it's going to $10,000, and if you have 100,000 XRP, you think that you're going to make $1 billion. Right? Or if you have 1,000 XRP, you think you're going to turn your 1,000 XRP into $1 million. That's the allurement of the number. That's why people like it, right? Because you look at the wallet holders, like the vast majority of wallet holders, it's like between 0 and 3,000 XRP. It's like the big holding area. So what makes everybody a millionaire that's in that wallet size? 10 grand. So everybody gravitates towards that number of 10 grand. And I already know it because I see it over there on Twitter. When we're talking $8, $9, $10, $11, it is not sexy at all. No way. Right? That's not what people came for. People came for all the money, all that different stuff. And I just don't believe in it. I love you all. I'm committed to XRP, man. I've been to XRP Las Vegas twice. I've been to the XRP Gold Coast. I mean, I've flown all the way to Australia. I've been to the proper party, man. If there's anybody who's been in the trenches of XRP, it's me. But I'm just shooting it straight with you, man. $8, $9, $10, $11. $10,000, go round trip the whole thing. Lil B, thank you very much. Jason Emerson, tacos on me. Thanks for your thoughts and teachings today. Jason, thank you very much, man. John Lively, my friend with a stutter just went to prison. They say he may never finish his sentence. BTW, how was it? Is she home? I don't see her in the chat. That was right up her alley. Oh, that one was not bad. Oh man, she's been given some brutal ones lately too. I know she's been up there. She is. Oh, has she been in the chat doing them too? If only I could remember them. Okay, they're so bad. I love you. Okay, I love you. They're so bad. Okay, reverse repo almost empty. What does that mean? Right. Somebody asked me about that the other day. I think the only thing that we can extrapolate from what happened with the reverse repo is that when the facility opened, right? And when the trend ended, we don't have anything in here to be like, that's it. Because look down in here. This is the reverse repo, draining, right? And then it just stays drained. Now get over here. Where is this? Right? This is the bull run. Here you are in the bull run. Reverse repo is completely drained during the bull run, right? But then when the reverse repo facility opens, boom, the bull run becomes over for the crypto market and the stock market, right? The money is flooding out of markets and it's going into the reverse repo facility as the Fed starts raising rates, right? Then once the money leaves the reverse repo, December of 2022, boom, the market starts moving. The money is comfortable sitting out there and going out into markets, right? I think the only thing that we can truly read from this whole event happening in here is for there to be confluence that an event like this confirms the bull market is over is if we see this thing start to go again. If the money starts flooding back into here, that means gig is up. At least that's what it meant last time, right? So I don't know if there's too much to read from it getting near the end of it because it didn't mean anything in here. But what we know is if the money is going in, it's bad, right? If the money is going out and staying out, that's been okay. But if the money is going into it, bad. I think that's the only thing we can really extrapolate from this piece of information. So if we see that going in, yeah, we probably panic, right? But otherwise, I don't think there's really much to say from it here, right? We just don't want to see money going in here because this means that the market's worried. The market doesn't want to put money into the United States stock market or into treasuries, and it thinks that the Fed is going to be raising rates, and they're really scared of what that means, and they're willing to park the money with the Fed overnight for about 1/4 of a point below whatever the federal funds rate is. In general, they don't want to put money anywhere. They just want to keep it with the Fed. So that's the thing that we would be concerned about. And that's not the trend of where it's going, right? How much does the ugliness of the others chart concern you? Well, this whole market's ugly. Let's pull up others. The only thing you just have to think is it's all-time high jitters, right? Right, and that they're the same thing. And that capital's consolidating, right? That's the only thing I can think is capital consolidating. And it's not consolidating into Ethereum, which is bizarre. So I'm not really sure on it. I think the thing that would confirm it as being nerve-wracking is really a whole lot more down over here on total 3, right? Like if total 3 plunges, right? And if it plunges down in here, that will suck. But I do think we will come back. But I'll be real nervous of thinking that we're not going to get anything more than that out of the market and that we slammed the highs. That's it. And then that's it. Cut and run because this is going to get ugly, right? If we head down in here. So I see it more cleanly over here on total 3 than necessarily others. So things aren't terribly bad here right now. But if you went plunging down lower and got into these areas, that's when I would start thinking, okay, it's all looking pretty nasty right now. But percentage-wise, just like we talked about in Monday's video, there's nothing here percentage-wise that's unusual. We've seen a lot of coins in this market act just like how we've expected it to act. Although XRP's delaying. Look at that. Who is this? Binance coins. See, continuing to go. Look at that. It's what we've been looking for over here. I don't know why we're taking so long on XRP, but we're getting what we're looking for over here. That I'd be more focused on total 3. Chills, thank you very much. Gator, happy birthday, Abraham Lincoln. Oh man, is it Abraham Lincoln's birthday? Dan W, thank you. Enrico, reverse repo almost empty. What does that mean, BCB? Okay, we just covered that one. And then how much is the other chart concern you? There we go. We got it all. Holy cow. All right, look, we're getting to end it a little green. This was a stream, man. You started off with extreme price action, and just know next week, we'll still get a lot of this stuff on bear market worries. This is exactly what we talked about last Wednesday, is that everything was too new and too fresh of what had happened, that it hadn't enough time had not elapsed for people to start like running all these crazy thoughts through their head where they start building panic. The content hadn't come out yet. We hadn't seen YouTube content and Twitter content come out where it starts targeting those types of emotions. And so we'll continue seeing that for weeks heading up to it. So if you want to like live your life, hey man, it's almost spring. Get your seeds ready. Get your fruit trees in the ground. Go dig some holes. Go get some mulch. Go get some compost. Take care of outside and stay away from social media for a couple of weeks, man. Life will go on and life will be fine. But you are going to watch sentiment and the twisting and the turning all start to happen. You're going to watch the same people constantly flip back their emotions of craziness. Holy Schneike says, hey, BCB, for tokens to look at like DOT or Matic being a possible retracement, are you saying market cap retracement or price retracement, or we need to keep an eye on both? We'll have to see, man. We'll have to see. Because when you go in, if you have an event where there's things that are only retracing, not all of them hit the same retraces. I think it's going to be focusing on, if you aren't following a basket of assets and following the market cap of crypto, I find it so offensive and just wrong when people say market caps don't matter. It's like bull crap. We have shown it time and time again that they do. So if we see extensions getting hit on like the total market cap of crypto, the total altcoin market, or others, or total 3 excluding Ethereum, if we see these things hitting specific extensions, and then we see confluence of Bitcoin hitting things, or we see confluence of XRP hitting things, it's going to be one giant trade. At least it was in 2021. When the bottom fell out of the market in May of 2021, which marked the peak, right? Where we could all see the event coming from a mile away. Elon Musk is going to go on Saturday Night Live. We have a 702 retracement happen at Bitcoin at the exact same time. The altcoin market hits the 4.236 extension based on the rally prior to capitulation, right? Class of 2019, 2020, 2021, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Class of 2021, you're like, what? 2022, what? You guys know what I'm talking about. But you had all these events line up together. Boom. Everything came unglued all together. And so I think it's still just one big trade. Hustle and Dream, thank you very much. Yo Pilot gives 5. Thank you very much. Night Shift says, so what are your future plans look like for traveling? Right. So we're getting kind of near that time of the year where I do some traveling. And I'm having to figure out what we're going to do, because I did a lot of traveling last year, right? Like, what did we do? We had the proper party in September of 2023, then move into 2024, go to Australia, and then Las Vegas, and then Austin, Texas. And all that was within like a 6-month period. And that took a lot out of me, and it took a lot out of my family. So right now, because I got kids, man, when you leave kids behind like that for a week at a time, and they're with grandparents and stuff like that for a whole week, your kids just miss you a lot, right? Not me and my wife. I mean, we have a blast, but the kids, they miss us. You know what I mean? So it's probably gonna be a lot less this year. But I'm working on things. It's not that I'm not going to do any of them. I am going to do some of them, but figuring out what they're going to be, and getting in touch with grandparents and talking to the kids and figuring out what can we manage this year. But it's coming up, right? There's a couple of things coming up pretty soon here in the next few months, so we'll see. married to mixed chick, said, take the kids. Dude, you can't take the kids to Las Vegas. You can't take the kids to Australia. It's like I timed it. From the moment I left my garage to the moment I stepped foot into my hotel room in Australia, it was a full 36 hours. It was nuts. John O'Reilly says, BCB, thank you very much. My brother, thank you, man. So yeah, I'll fill you guys in on the traveling stuff. We're still working on that and figuring out what's gonna happen. It's gonna be less this year. I think I am gonna rule out. I think I can already say this. I am ruling out going to Canada. So consensus has been in Austin, Texas, the last couple of years. This time, I think it's in Vancouver, Canada. I think I'm gonna pass on that one this year. Mr. Q says BCB win video. We'll get a video out tomorrow. So, all right, there we go. Let's take a look around throughout the market, see what we're doing now. A little bit of a recovery off of the insanity of what happened with the CPI print that came out this morning. A little bit of an improvement over here in stocks. You got the Russell down 26 points, which it was down over 40. The Dow's now down 279. It was down 480. The S&P's down 31. It was down almost 60. The NASDAQ was down about 200, now down about 86. You do have more green over here. Tesla, AMC, United Health, ARK, GE, Apple, Meta, and Coinbase in the green. Hey, Coinbase in the green on a day like today. Let's go. Yields up slightly, nothing too crazy. 2-month yield, again, has been that one that has predicted the federal funds rate. Still remains there, that there is no change happening over here in the Fed funds rate. Also, the CPI print didn't exactly shoot it up to think that there's going to be any type of hike or anything like that. So it still remains just flat of where it's at. Otherwise, for crypto, XRP back above $2.40. I think I got as low as $2.32 this morning. Still waiting on XRP to be able to give itself a little bit of a push. Like, dang, look at that. Binance Coin's still continuing to go. This has been the idea looking at for XRP, but we've already gotten it. Been Binance Coin, Tron, and Litecoin. Just, come on, guy. What you waiting on, man? So we'll see how things go throughout the rest of today and tomorrow, and then I'll check in with you guys with a video tomorrow morning. Of course, you guys can check out the newsletter over here at blockchainbacker.substack.com. Check out bcbacker.com for over 40 videos and 11 hours of content teaching you how to set up your own charts and indicators within TradingView and CoinTrader Pro. Otherwise, have a good day. Probably going to be a better day. Crazy, crazy morning. It's always weird, man. It's always weird to have to go live when we get those huge data prints and the huge volatility. And you get like 40 messages. Hey, is it a bear market? Calm down. Calm down. All right. Oh, yeah, we need the frog. There we go. We get to finish on a little bit of a better note. There is a little bit of better price action. Oh, man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to play the frog, guys. I'm just going to play it in the background. We won't play it on the screen. But that's it. We're going to wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you could, please like this video and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember, blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one!